All right, so we're gonna do a walk around on my high school car. It's a 91 Honda Civic hatchback Si. I've had this since probably like 2005. And it's just one of those projects that I learned a lot on throughout the years to get me to where I am skilled wise today, and haven't had a need to let it go. So I just kind of hung on to it this whole time. So one of the first things I ever bought modifying cars was this carbon fiber hood. I always wanted one. It was one of those high school things, and kind of wanted to color match it, but don't really plan on putting any more money into this car, so it's just been carbon ever since. It does have ZC headlights, so these are plastic and there's only a single bulb versus the US that's glass. It has two bulbs for high beam and low beam, and those glass nipples that stick out. The bumper lights are OEM, but there was like a big orange square inside that made them even more orange, so I took it out and left the orange bulbs in there, so when they're blinking it still functions like it should. So this lip right here, it is a real ChargeSpeed lip that I ordered from Japan, and I sectioned it in about 5 different places and made it fit a US bumper. So there is no other lip that's fiberglass that will fit right out of the box. There's a lot of replicas for these front ends that are made out of different materials, but they don't have this chin. They all kind of round off and pull back towards the bumper and just look a little weird. So this was the only way to get it to look right. Moving on to the wheels, these are a rare set of Heroes Racing super fins. There's only a few of them in the States, complete set wise, but they were originally made for 4x114 bolt pattern cars. So a lot of AE86s had them, but these were re-drilled to fit the 4x100. And I think it just goes with the overall style of the car pretty well. So the car is lowered on tans for an EK, and then I painted all of the trim black again, so it's all fresh. It took a few junkyard runs to get door trim and quarter panel trim that weren't all dinged up. And these window trims are brand new from Honda. They were the last pair, at least in Southern California, that I could order in 2013. Snapped those on, painted all this trim again, and then to match the front lip, I did a ChargeSpeed wing in the rear, and this goes onto a SIR wing that has an LED. So originally the US has a little small halogen bulb, and the Japanese version has a long LED. And so the car is now balanced front to back with the chin spoiler and the rear hatch spoiler. So the 16 valve sticker is what ZC's ran on their cars. So it's not a full ZC conversion. It's not an EF9, but I like the sticker, so it went on. It's got an EF9 center garnish. So it says VTEC with that sticker, which the US never got. The Civic letters are raised, which the US never got as well. And then EF9 has the full wraparound darker orange without a red reflector. ZC has a brighter orange, and US has dark orange with a red reflector. So just kind of finishing off the rear with a little bit of a darker setup than the front. So similar to my Tacoma, I wanted something that tied the front to the back, back to the front. So this has a Greddy exhaust, and it's just small things. So Greddy exhaust, it's got an old school Greddy shift knob, and then a few Greddy bits under the hood. So I'll get that popped right now. All right, so the hood's popped. Before I open it, this is pretty much where all the work is. So it doesn't show it on the outside, but the whole engine bay is done up from top to bottom. And then continuing with the Greddy, we have a cap on the coolant and the coolant reservoir. All right, so here's the bay. I took the motor out, did a lot of body work, had the engine bay color matched, and pulled the fuse box and all the original wiring into the car beneath the dash, got rid of any wiring I didn't need. This actually has a very early rywire harness with the mil-spec plug. So he made this for me back in 2009, 2010. We did the OBD1 conversion. And it's all on a single cam. It's a ZC block with the Z6 head. So the head's off of like a 92 Civic Si hatchback, the next generation. Trans is a JDM trans cable still. Pretty much true to his roots as much as I can. And the motor was completely tore down and rebuilt. So new bearings, shot peen rods, rebuilt head, ported head, and pretty much a bunch of little hardware like bolts and washers, beauty washers. Let's put it all together. I sent out the hood prop, hood hinges, hood latch to get chromed, and the radiator support as well. So all that stuff got chromed. So yeah, if you couldn't tell already, I don't run the center caps. I just put them on the other side so we can see how it looks complete. But I've lost one, and I've had to buy another set of wheels to get one because these are so rare. So I have 4 wheels and 3 caps in storage. All right, so we've got SI seats, factory with the wear like they all do. Haven't got them reupholstered yet. The Circuit Hero shift knob extender. I did a custom battery power on the dash where the AC controls used to be. It's got an older Pioneer head unit, real Mugen pedals, a Momo steering wheel with NRG hub, and then this is a pretty cool piece right here. This is a ZC gauge cluster. So the miles per hour were higher than the US, RPMs were higher than the US, but the needles were orange. The US has white needles, so I went ahead, took it all apart, and I converted it over to white needles like the US spec, but still with the higher readings that the ZC gauge cluster provides. And then finally, we did a Fields VTEC controller where the clock used to be. So this shows the RPM digitally. If you wire it correctly to the original ECU in the car, you could semi-tune it, kind of control a few things, but it's just there for visual appeal to give it sort of that 90s vibe. And we have the rywire harness coming in with a P28 ECU. It hasn't been shipped yet, but there's really not too much done to the motor where it would need it. So that's pretty much it for this mod-wise in the interior. I also did green lights on the cluster. Just a little something to give it its own personality in here. In the rear we have the factory seats with the optional speaker pods, so it helps the audio a little bit. It's pretty terrible in here compared to a modern car. So yeah, it runs good. I had it registered last year and drove it about 5 times. So I put it on non-op again because it just isn't worth it in my opinion. I don't have time for the car, so it's just sitting right now. But I still do love it. You know, I learned a lot on it. I did a lot of work to it. Probably won't get that money back if I sell it, but it's still somewhat valuable, and older Japanese cars seem to be trending. So hopefully in the future it gains more value than what it's currently at. Give it a rev. exhaust sounds good. The tip is a bit much in my opinion, but the HKS dual tip exhausts were getting priced pretty crazy, and I came across this one for a good price, so I ended up going with it. But the car has my style. Pretty simple on the outside, nothing too wild, no stickers or a bunch of stuff screaming for attention. It's just a nice simple build. I wanted it to look like it came out of the 90s or something that would have been built around the 90s. So it's got some older parts on it, but for now it's just sitting in the garage till I have time to take it out, really. All right, this is it. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you have any questions on the build, leave them in the comments. I'll answer them as best as I can.